Now, you know Dan and Dawn, right?
Careful.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And they bring their own chairs.
Yeah.
They're gonna line up in the back row, right? I'll be very disappointed.
It's like we're in church.
I said, everybody's in the back row. You'll be sitting outside next.
Making the back row longer.
You're in the front row, that's right.
Dan, did you bring a copy of your report? I did, I saw it, I did not print it, I thought it was gonna be in my
He
packet.
thought it would be provided to him. There was a little miscommunication.
I know you do, thank you very much, appreciate it, it won't happen again.
All right, I will call this regular meeting to order. Please stand to pledge a flag. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes.
Okay.
Okay, approval of minutes. I'll move that the town board approves the minutes of the December 30th, 2024 annual meeting. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and I will move that we approve the meetings from the minutes rather, from the, it was a January 6th reorganizational meeting. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Is there any discussion for things on the agenda? All right. Oh, sorry.
Nope, spoke too soon.
I will make a motion to open the floor to public discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion
On the
carries.
agenda tonight,
Yeah.
you guys have, and Charles, I hope you bring it up, and I hope the town board backs you with the cell phones and the cell tower here in the town of Clinton. It's horrendous with the service here in the town, trying to make 911 calls and trying to communicate in this town. It's long overdue. The past board didn't want anything to do with it, but hopefully this board will entertain that idea with having cell phone coverage here in the town of Clinton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I make a motion to close public discussion and return to regular order of business. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Can you read?
Sure. Okay, comments from the town supervisor? This comment, oh, no, we did that. Okay, supervisor's comments. The Clinton Town offices, Highway Department, Justice Court office and court will be closed for Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday, January 20th. The Clinton Community Library will be closed on that day as well. The annual Christmas tree bonfire will be held on January 25th at Franmark Park. You can drop off your ornament-free Christmas tree by the highway garage fence by January 24th. Drop-off location is where the community mulch is usually piled. The East Clinton Fire Department will be providing hot chocolate along with their usual services. The East Clinton Fire Department is holding their annual chicken barbecue on Saturday, February 1, from 4 to 6 p.m. Meal includes barbecue chicken, potato salad, coleslaw roll, and dessert. Takeout only costs us $15 per meal. To make a reservation, please call 266-5485. Previously reported that the town was a victim of banking fraud in March of 2024, which resulted in $9,500 being stolen from our accounts. This amount was officially refunded to us. I am pleased to report that Detective David Meyer with the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office has apprehended the alleged perpetrator of this fraud.
Nice.
And I have one comment to add to that. This is really more information than anything else. Several weeks ago, Michael and I met with the executive director of the Dutchess County Commission on Human Rights, who came up from Poughkeepsie to spend an hour or so talking with us about the the commission and the work they do and plans they're making for this year, public programming for outreach to the local towns. Most of their work is centralized in southern Dutchess, more heavily populated areas of the county, but they're trying to expand that purview up here to the more rural areas. And we talked about the possibility of having an event at Franmark Park in July, which will be open to the public, of course, open to anybody in the town, to talk about basically how people feel about living in Clinton and getting to know your neighbors, what they like, what they don't like, what they would like to see happen, what they don't want to see happen, and so on down the line. That's still 6 or 7 months away, of course, and so there's a bit of organizing to be done, but once we have a date and a time and more details, we'll put those up on the web and ask Carol to send out an announcement to the community.
All right, we're going to reports, and we may as well go to Ellie.
You want to start with me, huh?
Yeah, why not?
Why not, right? Okay. We'll start with the building, since it's on the top of the pile here. The building inspector issued 11 permits this month, 21 in the month of November. 8 COs and CCs issued as opposed to 7. Title searches, 9 title searches versus 7 in November. Total cost of construction was, not surprisingly, quite a bit down for the holidays and the time of the year. $706,224,000. Month of November was almost 1.8 million, a tad under 1.8 million. The Climate Smart Committee had a late meeting on December 17th. It was delayed due to the Thanksgiving weekend. Be meeting again on January 28th at 7 o'clock at the Masonic Hall next door. Talked about a number of items that have been accomplished during the year, and again, planning on activities for, well, what was the coming year, but what is now the current year. Joe Phelan reported that the bronze sign, the signage for the bronze certification was posted, and actually the sign is right outside for anybody who's interested in looking at it. Joe also reported on the updating of the $10,000 grant that has been submitted, and work is in progress on a $50,000 grant, which the town now qualifies to apply for, having the bronze status. Now, that doesn't guarantee acceptance, of course, but it does. It's a major first step. Highway folks, Todd and Melissa, have been instrumental in helping. The idea being to use that money to fund extensive recommendations from the energy study, focusing on the garage. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be a while before we hear anything yet. The committee, along with the CAC, are working with Dutchess and Columbia Green Cooperative Extension for participating in what they call a resiliency program to address data collection activity regarding the town's preparation for possible future crises or natural disasters. Again, more details will follow. Discussion about the Iroquois pipeline, which has been kicking around now for, I guess, a couple of years, and there is work being done on it. Towns in the area, a number of towns, I think, including Clinton, have signed a petition opposing it. Obviously, there's a lot to be done here, but basically, as I understand it, the concept is to take the existing pipeline that went in 25 years ago and essentially make it bigger, so that increase the capacity so that it could handle more demand. Going down from here, well, it starts up north, comes to here, and then it goes down to the New York City area. So we'll see where that goes. In terms of future planning, the task force is working on may work on completing a municipal climate action plan, which is something that we had been looking at, but got put aside because of more immediate obligations that had to be done. And perhaps exploring interest in rural composting program, similar to what's going on over in New Paltz. And as I mentioned before, the next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 28th at 7 PM at the Masonic Lodge. Okay, scenic roads, scenic and historic roads, I should say, did not have a meeting in December. I believe there's one coming up next week. It's time to start planning for the roadside cleanup in April. I suspect that will be the main item on the agenda. Cemeteries, we had a short meeting in December and talked about, again, plans for 25, mainly for cleanup. And actually, one of the things that Lori Brands, one of our committee members, noticed that there were no flags at the Pleasant Plain Cemetery honoring the veterans for Veterans Day as well as for Memorial Day. So she's getting on that. Somehow we used to have them, so we dropped off the list. So she's going to get us, working on getting us reinstated. Schultzville does have them. The Schultzville Cemetery is, for whatever reason, Schultzville's on the list, and, but Pleasant Plains is not. The only other thing I'll add is some information that was just passed on to me by our zoning administrator, or I guess that's his title now, right? Zoning administrator?
It will be.
Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. He's, at the moment, I guess he's still the MCEI. But anyway, and I'll just run through this very quickly. This information will go up on the town website, so anybody who's interested in the details. In the month of November, he looked at 41 permit applications through zoning, 11 active, 14 open, and then smaller numbers, applications that would withdrawn or what have you. In the month of December, obviously a shorter month because of the holidays, he looked at 19, 12 of which are still active. And if anybody is really interested in getting into the weeds, we have a list here. Jeff prepared a list of the entire year. If anybody really wants to get into the details, just give me a holler, and I'd be happy to share that. And I think that's it.
All right. Councilwoman Stahl.
All right. The CAC, they did some updates to their website, so I encourage you to go check that out. I did want to clarify, there was also discussion about the pipeline. There's not going to be any excavation or construction of a pipeline. They're increasing the pressure or the volume of the gas. Dover is particularly worried about it because I think that's where one of the stations
Yeah.
will be located, where they do some maintenance of that, or they monitor the pressure.
Yes, as far as I was told, the increased pressure increases leaks throughout the pipeline.
And they're 30-year-old pipes.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to be clear that it's people, I don't want people to think that they're going to go through and
And make
dig
it
up the
bigger,
whole
yeah.
Oh,
pipeline.
no, no.
Like-
It's just
like
what's
many-
already there.
Many years ago.
Exactly.
Right. Let's see. ZBA saw 2 area variances and 1 variance for an accessory dwelling unit during the month of December. And Planning Board saw a soil erosion permit, a wetlands permit, an accessory dwelling unit, and also 2 short-term rental permits. And what I want to clarify to the public is that these short-term rentals, non-hosted, had already applied before our new law was passed. So I believe these will be the last 2. No, there's a couple more. So there's 5 in the pipeline that will be allowed to complete their application, and then there will be no more that will be permitted.
Including the 2, right,
Yeah, 5 total, including these
yeah.
2, and then that will be the end of that. That's all I got.
All right. Councilperson Dacus.
Thank you. Recreation, next recreation meeting, January 27th, 2025, 7 PM here at the Town Hall. Continuing activities, the Knitting Club continues to meet on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays at 10 AM at the Hummingbird Ranch in Salt Point. 10 AM in the morning, you need to be committed to that, huh? B, senior citizens are invited to participate in the weekly Friday senior drop-in activities at the Pleasant Valley Town Hall. Upcoming events in 2025, Friends Park, not Fran Park, Friends Park Skating Rink has been assembled and will be available for use by the public as long as it remains frozen. It sounds pretty logical. Rules for the rink are posted at the park and on the recreation website. I think Elliot covered this, but tree burning bonfire at Franmark Park held on the 25th of January, 5:30 PM. Drop off your tree by the fence to the highway garage where the mulch is usually piled, by the 24th. An ice skating party will be held on February 8th at the Friends Park rink from 1 to 3 p.m. 2025 Clinton Senior Summer Camp dates are set, July 7 through 11, July 14 through 18, August 4 through 8th, and August 11 through 15. A community yard sale and a 3-on-3 basketball tournament will be held once again on May 24th, 2025. I think Ellie and I will form a team for that. We'll get a third guy for that. Maybe Todd, right? We've got 3 on
Be
3.
like
Yeah.
Old Timers Day.
A community yard sale, I said that already. Chess night, we're looking for individuals who would like to participate in an evening of chess. Please reach out to the Recreation Department. If you're interested in playing, all levels are invited. We will hold a family movie night at Town Hall on March 8th, 2025. More information will be coming. As always, please check the Recreation website. Dawn and Dan, you do an excellent job of this. Thank you for your efforts.
Hometown.
She's making me give it to her. so.
Councilperson Nelson.
No, let me do,
Oh,
I'll do,
sorry.
there's one more hometown heroes. We're taking the winter off, obviously, because of weather, but as I mentioned to the supervisor coming in here, coming down Center Road, seeing the posters, very impressive. They look really good. We did a really good job there. So I'm very happy that's underway. That's it.
Marion?
Well, most library programs are canceled the week of January 20th while the town hall floor is being refinished. Story time will still be happening, and families should enter through the back door to the basement. Please check the website or call the library if you are unsure about a program. The library will be closed on Monday, January 20th, in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The library is compiling its 2024 statistics for the annual report to New York State. Last year, the library circulated 11,517 physical items, including books, DVDs, books on CD, museum passes, hotspots, laptops, and kits. For digital items, 3,422 ebooks and 2,762 e-audiobooks were borrowed. Attendance at library programs was 7,016. The library wishes to recognize former trustees Kim Lewis and Liz Giglio, whose terms expired at the end of December. The library welcomes Paul Thomas as a new trustee. There is still one vacancy on the board, and anyone who is interested in joining or has questions should reach out to the library director, Carol Bancroft. And the Community Library Friends Group will meet at 4:30 on Tuesday, January 28th on Zoom. The agenda will cover the success of the holiday cookie sale, plans for the spring book and plant sale, and get an update on the plans for the garden tour. New members are welcome, and you can get the Zoom link by registering on the library's events calendar. Onto the highway. The crews spent time this month working in the yard. The storage buildings were cleaned, reorganized, and inventoried. The materials in the yard were straightened up and inspected. Grader work and dirt patching was done on the dirt roads with special attention paid to Schoolhouse Road and Schultzville Road. Several crew members completed tree trimming, cleanups, and chipping on Mountain View Road. Continued attention was given to necessary repairs and maintenance to the highway department vehicles used for snow removal. The crew members hauled in necessary material for snow and ice control. The recently purchased 2020 International dump truck has been put into service. An inventory code of C-0 has been assigned to that piece of equipment. During the month of December, either our full crew or a partial crew conducted snow and ice removal operations on 6 separate days. A new environmentally friendly product has been put into use to help mitigate ice control on the roadways. This month, the Highway Department worked to help to set up the ice skating rink at Friends Park. That's it.
All right. Old business.
Sorry,
Oh,
Matt, did you want
yeah.
to do maintenance? Did you want to announce?
Oh, and yes, the kitchen flooring is finished. Finally, I met with Art, actually today. He measured and he's starting work on the cabinets, building new cabinets for the kitchen downstairs.
And that actually leads to the CSC report, which, if they're interested in a heating or cooling center, having a kitchen downstairs is necessary.
For emergency.
Right.
Yeah, so,
And Art has requested from the Masons 6 or 7 volunteers who know how to paint to volunteer to paint pretty much the whole basement.
all right. Old business, Charlie.
Okay, sorry. I'm in the wrong page. Okay, be it resolved, the, going to bid for the Fran Mark Park building staining. Be it resolved that the town board approves going to bid for the staining of the buildings at Fran Mark Park. Bids will be received by the town clerk, the Town of Clinton, Town Hall, 1215 Center Road, Rhinebeck, until 10 a.m. on February 12, 2025, with the contract being awarded as soon as practicable thereafter. Copies of the bid documents may be obtained through Empire BidNet or on the Town of Clinton website.
Or by email town clerk.
Yeah, you can email also.
Or by email to the town clerk, I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Catherine?
Okay, so I prefaced this other meetings. Planning board would like to establish set escrow fees that can be collected at the time of a permit application to further just assist them in the planning process and in working through the applications. I have a proposal written by Paul Thomas, who's the chairman of the planning board, who couldn't be here tonight, so I'm just gonna read that if I may. Proposal to establish a planning board consultant escrow schedule and require an escrow deposit with the initial application. The planning board routinely refers appropriate applications to the board's consultants, who are paid using escrow funds provided by the applicant. Our current procedure requires an initial meeting with the applicant during which the board votes to establish an escrow before the application is sent to the consultants for review. The applicant must then wait for the consultants to complete the review before coming back for a substantive discussion of the application. Escrows are set according to the best estimate of the board members. There are several drawbacks to this current approach. First, we do not maintain a publicly available schedule of escrow accounts. Many neighboring towns post them on their websites. In addition, we often put matters on the agenda simply to set an escrow, meaning that the applicant must wait for a second meeting to receive substantive comments and feedback from board members and our consultants. We think it would benefit both applicants and the board to transition to a process where most matters are reviewed by our consultants before they come before the board for the first time. Under the proposed procedure, we would post the escrow schedule on the website and require that each applicant make an escrow deposit based on the published schedule when submitting the application fee. Following review by the MCEI, we would then refer the application to the appropriate consultants for written comments, which would be provided for board members in advance of their initial meeting with the applicant. This would also allow us to schedule pre-submission conferences with consultants when appropriate. Our consultants would also be in attendance at most meetings, making for a much more focused and productive discussion. Note that these are initial escrow amounts, and some applications might require additional escrow deposits before the review is complete. We should probably disclose this on the website. The amounts in the proposed escrow schedule are based on our estimate of reasonable and customary consultant charges for initial reviews of the various types of applications we receive. Unused escrow funds will be returned to the applicant. We will make exceptions to the escrow requirement for simple applications where consultant review is not warranted or where it would work a genuine financial hardship on the applicant. So that's from Paul. You have in your packet a resolution written by Shane, which details the collection of the escrow and also that they can request more as needed. And then you also have the suggested amounts. And we have one member of the planning board here who would like to speak, but we can chat first, or?
I have chatted with you and Elliot and Jeff and Paul and Mike, so I'm good. If anyone else had discussion,
I just want to go on record, what it's worth, simply to, I have some serious reservations with this plan. Not worth, at this point, I think, getting into the nitty-gritty, but I don't think this plan is going to get us where we want to be, basically, this, the long and the short of it. So I will vote against it, but not because I don't have, rephrase that, I have a great deal of respect for the people who have worked on it, particularly Paul Thomas, who is the chair of the planning board, is not here tonight, but he really drove the bus on this to a great extent. And he's a terrific acquisition as the planning board chair, but also the other folks who are involved as well. I just don't think this is the answer or the solution to the problems that we're having in terms of expediting paper flow and various other things. So my inclination would be to vote against it, but I don't want to get involved in the whole big to-do about it. I simply want to put that out there for people to be aware of.
Can we, Alex, can I invite Alex up to have?
Yeah,
Sure.
Alex Farini, he's on the planning board, and he was kind enough to come just to give his thoughts.
hello, Al.
Hi, thank you very much. I just wanted to emphasize a couple points that Paul talks about in his message, but I just wanted to reiterate them with a little bit more emphasis. This process of referring applications out to our consultants, it's something that already happens. So these escrows that you're talking about establishing are not new or additional fees. So I did want to make that point to the board. This is not kind of a new burden on the applicants. It's something that routinely happens already, and it's a different kind of review than what Jeff does, right? The applications come in, Jeff does a certain scope of review for zoning compliance with the application requirements, but then when we get the application, we often need technical expertise from the consultants that we've hired to help us evaluate the application. And I think what Paul is saying is that, and Elliot, I certainly respect your position on the matter. I might like to hear more about it, because I think what we're seeing on the planning board is that oftentimes applicants come to us, and as Paul says in his message, that nothing actually of substance gets accomplished at the first meeting, because the only thing we're doing at the first meeting is saying, thank you very much for the application. We need to have our consultants review it. We're going to establish an escrow so that our consultants can get to work on it. And I think the thought is that by doing that process up front, we are eliminating a step for the applicant and hopefully making what could be a 2 or 3 meeting process, perhaps maybe only be a 1 or 2 meeting process for the applicant. And I think the other thing that kind of what I've seen, I haven't been on the planning board for that long, but oftentimes when we're at that first meeting and we're explaining to the applicant that we need to set an escrow, we sometimes get a deer in the headlights kind of look from the applicant. You know, no objections. In the time I've been there, I haven't seen anyone object to the fee. And I asked Paul, and he had the same experience. But it's just kind of a process of, you know, well, what's going on? And I think by establishing up front and making it part of the application process, you know, they know coming in. They know when they want to file the application, oh, okay, this is a part of the process. So I think those are just the two things that I wanted to emphasize from what Paul said. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have about the
Yeah,
process.
can you, this is kind of new to me, can you walk me through quickly just what this resolution does?
So what the resolution does, is it says, my understanding is that it says that when they bring the application into Arlene, when they file the application,
Okay.
that's when, there would be a publicly listed schedule for the escrows that we would set.
Okay.
They would deposit that escrow when they file the application, so that after Jeff's review, it could immediately go to the consultants, so that by the time it gets to the planning board in our meeting, we have Jeff's determination, and we have our consultant's technical input on the application. And that's usually, again, as I described, that's usually, right now, that process takes 2 meetings, right? Whereas, under the intent of this process is to have both Jeff's initial review and the technical review from our consultants at the first meeting where we see the applicant, so we can actually have a substantive discussion with the applicant when, you know, when they get in front of us.
Right, and I haven't been liaison to the planning board for very long, but where I see the irritation of applicants and the frustration is in the multiple meetings. Like, I have to come back. And so if we can cut down by a meeting, possibly 2, I think that will make people feel much better about the process and be a more prudent use of all of the volunteer time that these people grant the town.
So it's merely shortening the process.
That's the intent, and I think it will, you know, for many of the applications that we get, you know, might be, there are some applications where we only need kind of one cycle of
Right.
consultant review and consultant comment before the planning board is ready to vote. And yeah, I think for a lot of those applications, this will mean a 1-meeting process for the applicant. And knock on wood, right? That's what we would want for most of the people who are coming to get permits.
Thank you. Elliot, is it appropriate to ask you why you would object?
Well, I guess, sure, if I could try to elaborate a little bit without getting too involved in the details. I guess philosophical issue.
Excuse me.
I seem to come back to that a lot, but I think implementing this plan will cede authority from the planning board to consultants more than should be the case. I mean, all boards rely heavily on consultants. We do, the town board does, ZBA certainly does on occasion, and others. But ultimately, we're the ones who make the decision. The consultants don't make the decision. They make recommendations, but their word is not final. And I used to have this conversation with Pete Sotero, who'd been with us for 30 years. But he was not the decision maker. He was an advisor. Now, more often than not, obviously you trust your consultants, you take their advice. If you don't, you should have another consultant, of course. But it wasn't a rubber stamp. Okay, so I think that's one issue. On a more practical level, and this speaks back to my years on the planning board. Admittedly, it's been a few years since I was on the board and things have changed. A lot of what we are now going to be paying the consultants to do was work that we did in-house. The board members did it, the CEO did it, occasionally we had the building inspector would have to do it, which is not to say we didn't go for outside opinions, but simply that most, if not and I think Arlene could speak to this issue, most of the initial screening, if not all of the initial screening, was done by us as a group. Now, I mean, I think one of Paul's concerns is that as time goes on, applications get more complicated. You're now dealing with issues that we were not dealing with 10 years ago. It puts an extra burden on the volunteers, on the planning board. And believe me, I empathize with that, having been in that position many times. But you do the work, because it comes with the job. And if you don't want to do the work, you don't do the job. You don't sign up for the job. So there's that issue as well. I mean, I don't know exactly how the escrow is going to be handled, who's going to be responsible for collecting it, tracking it, returning it. I mean, there's an extra burden for people who are already overextended in the department. I guess ultimately, it's what it sounds like to me. I mean, this is going to sound like, when I was young and went to school, I was barefoot and had to walk uphill in the snow. But in fact, I think we're just abdicating. I think we're abdicating our role.
So I would say, as far as ceding authority to the consultants, I think that actually falls upon the board, because when we are interviewing for applicants to the planning board, we need to choose carefully. I know most of you know the people on the planning board, and I can't think of one of them that wouldn't tell you their opinion, regardless of what the consultant said. And I have to go back to, and you said it, Elliot, I realize that years ago, all of that work was done in-house. But there are, in this town, I would venture to guess, and I might be overstating it slightly, there are no simple lots anymore. There are no lots that are nice and flat and you can put a house in the middle. There's a steep slope, there's a water course, there's a wetland, there's a something in every single place. And I would also remind you that there are some very complicated things coming down the pike. And I think that it protects the town in ways that are worth figuring this out by having the consultants help them and review things and guide. That return of the escrow, yes, we're gonna have to figure that out. We already do it, but maybe we're gonna need to streamline it a little more.
Yeah, I want to say on that point, it shouldn't be thought of as an extra burden, something we should be doing anyway.
Right, we already do it, it's just,
Yeah.
this may increase the volume.
People should get their money back that isn't used.
But of course, you remember our experience.
I do,
well, I'm sure.
yeah.
Oh, no, I'd like to vote.
Where we had escrow sitting around for 20 years.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yes,
that's a different story.
and I wrote a note tonight to make sure it's all given back.
You want to give Arlene a chance to?
Would you like to come to my post? Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Arlene is a clerk
doing-
of the planning
Just
board.
talk anyway.
Been doing it for 17 or 18 years. So, lot line going back, simple lot line, there is a lot of people in here, or the neighboring property. So let's say they're moving the lot line. So let's say you just want to move the lot line, you own 2 properties, you want to just move it. Now, that means you're gonna, by the time you enter the door, $1,000. Before, property owner could do it by themselves and everything, you just need a miler. But now you're gonna need, I think the $1,000 is too expensive for the lot line. That's very simple. Elliot always do all the lot line adjustment before in the board. You could do the trial and error, you could see what the property owner, because in addition to all the applications and everything, this is gonna cost them the escrow. And that's gonna be like, let's see what happens. But there are some cases that lot line, that you could just move the lot line, combining the lot lines. I don't think that's gonna be $1,000.
Thank you.
Are these new fees or?
Yes, they're all new.
There's
They're
a,
all- they're brand
so,
new.
they're, I don't think new is,
You're sort of new.
it's, so they're not, homeowners, excuse me, applicants were charged escrow from forever. what we're trying to do is set it up so that it's a set fee for each applicant, type of application, so that they can be collected at the time that the application is submitted. It's not that we never would have collected this, it's that we're trying to move where the collection goes. Did you want to?
Are these basically the same,
Jeff wants
are
to.
these basically the same fees we've been charging?
No, there are more.
There are more, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so there might be an issue about the lot line adjustment, and I would say, you know, in Paul's comment, and I spoke to him, I mean, look, if there's a very simple application where we, and another thing about the application process, maybe to go to one of the other points, you know, Paul reviews each application with Arlene and Jeff when they come in. It's assigned to a board member. So that initial review doesn't take place without any input from anyone on the board, right? So a board member is going to be, usually two board members are going to be involved in each of these applications, you know, from the get-go. And if there's a very simple application that, you know, those initial screeners don't feel is going to need consultant review, then, you know, I think, having spoken to Paul, I think, you know, fine, we wouldn't have to take an escrow. But Charlie, to your particular question, yes, these are escrow amounts that I've seen routinely assessed for applicants that need consultant review. So
Paul isn't here, he was
like-
gonna be here, what would have been his position?
Well, that's what I read.
Oh,
The whole
okay.
long, that was
Okay.
Paul wrote
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Thanks very much. So the substance of the process itself isn't being recommended to change. The process currently involves escrow for applications. So the escrow process is simply shifting on the timeline. So instead of the escrow being step 3, step 1 being application submission, step 2 being approved to be on the agenda and attending the first meeting, and step 3 then having escrow assigned, and then you leave and you come back in 2 weeks or a month whenever that review happens. Instead, the escrow would be paid at the time of application,
Right.
allowing for the review if it's believed the review is necessary. And as Alex mentioned, before any applicant is placed on the agenda, that application is reviewed by Arlene and by myself and by Paul, and Paul makes the ultimate determination what goes on the agenda. So part of that discussion is this a simple application? Would this application require a review from just the town engineer, or engineer and the planners, or potentially the attorney? And we can have that discussion about what that looks like. The other part is in terms of the amount of work, escrow already happens. So it's already on Arlene's task list to manage that escrow. So every escrow check that comes in, once it's assigned by the planning board, Arlene collects, she deposits, she manages, she requests more when they need more, she refunds when that's done, right? I'm not sure about the last part, if that's Arlene's job or not, but that process is the same. That doesn't change. There's no more work for anybody else. Except in the cases, and this will be few, where an escrow would not maybe have been normally assigned, but it's assigned from the beginning because now there's a chart. My suggestion on that is if an escrow is collected and it's deemed to be a simple application, at the first meeting, the planning board can vote to return the escrow at the first meeting. So if somebody is out that money, it's been deposited into the town account for 2 weeks or a month, as long as the town stays on top of returning that escrow, rather than letting it pile up like it had where it was 20 years worth. So we can stay on top of that and get it back. And then in terms of the abdication, the consulting by the consultants is the same. So it doesn't change. The consultant's job is to give advice to the planning board. So as Alex mentioned, my review looks at the town zoning law. But I'm not an engineer, I'm not a wetland scientist. I can't look at an application and confirm that it is 12.4% slope as opposed to 11.9, right? I look at it and say, well, it seems to be close to 12, we better send it in for a steep slopes permit. So the consultant's job is necessary and has been there as long as I've been involved in Clinton planning process, which is now 25 years. So that part doesn't change either. There's no abdication of responsibility or determination. The planning board still is responsible for taking that information and making their own decisions. So I think that this plan helps to streamline the process for the applicant. eliminating perhaps a full meeting for that applicant that otherwise would have been there. And maybe most importantly, it codifies our escrow schedule. Because right now, the planning board would look at each application and have a discussion amongst themselves. Oh, we've seen something like this before. They would ask Arlene, how much was that escrow? Well, that was 1,200 or 1,500 or 1,000, whatever it was, and then they might assign something similar, but the applicant didn't know. Now, it's codified, and so the applicant knows when they're applying exactly what that escrow is and what the process is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. By the way, that was Jeff Newman, our MCI. Any other discussion? Oh, we haven't even made the motion.
I sort of put the cart before the horse. I apologize.
That's all right.
For going out of order.
Oh, I thought you made the motion.
Yeah.
So, be it resolved that the town board approves resolution number of 2025, a resolution amending the town of Clinton fee schedule by adopting uniform escrow fees for certain planning board applications labeled attachment A as an addendum to the fee schedule, resolution 29 of 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? I'm gonna do a roll call vote on this one. Myself says aye. Catherine?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
Elliot?
No.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. New business. Elliot?
Okay. First item here is to approve the annual extension for the annual financial report, so I will move on that the town board approves, be it resolved, approves requesting a 2-month extension to file the annual financial report for proper accounting of 2024 finances. Is there a second?
Second.
You want to talk about what this means?
Yeah, just every year we are, the state has required filings, and every year the supervisor, long before me, has asked for an extension, and every year it's granted. So we have, I think, until March 1st, instead of February 1st. So that's what this is.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I move that the board approves Councilman Witten to attend the Association of Towns Annual Meeting and Training in New York City from February 16 to 19 at a total cost for conference registration and accommodations not to exceed $1,200. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I would just say, it should cost $1,101, but we said $1,200 just in case.
You put $1 in and round it off?
It was $951 for the hotel and $150 for the conference.
There you go.
So,
Okay, discussion. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And obviously, on a related matter, the town board approves designating Supervisor Witten as a delegate to the annual business session of the Association of Towns Annual Meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
No discussion necessary?
I mean, every year, the AOT, Association of Towns, has like an agenda that are priorities that they take to the state of what they'd like to see. This year, I think I sent
Yes.
around a webinar you
Yes.
can attend. I think there are 17 priorities this year.
Sort of defeats the purpose of having priorities.
Yeah, it does. There's usually about 8 or 9. So I vote on this, on each one of them at the meeting.
Okay, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And continuing on the same vein, Town Board approves the following resolution. Court Clerk Elizabeth Johnson's attendance at the AOT's annual meeting and training in New York City from February 16 to 18 at a total cost for conference registration and accommodations not to exceed, presumably the 700, not 700,000. $700,000. Oh, 700.
700.
Sorry, $700. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I would just say she's going for 2 nights instead of 3, And this cost is split with Rhinebeck because she works in both towns.
Right, yes, cost split with Rhinebeck, where she is also clerk justice. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And moving on to something different, I'll move that the town board approves the following resolution. Be it resolved, town board approves hiring Hudson Valley Appraisal Corporation for an appraisal of the property of Ragsdale at the rates listed and authorizes, empowers, and directs the town supervisor to sign the agreement. Is there a second?
Second?
I would just, a tax certiorari is a legal process by which a property owner can challenge the assessment of a given property in an attempt to reduce the property's assessment in real estate taxes. These cases are usually settled, but this time it isn't being settled, so we need an appraiser, and this appraiser was approved by our assessor as a reasonable price.
Okay, discussion, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Marion.
Town board approves resolution of 2025, the agreement to spend highway funds.
Second.
Second?
Second.
This is an agreement we make with the highway department called a 284 agreement. It's just how they are going, what roads they'll work on this year, how much money they'll spend. We can amend or change this agreement every meeting if we want. But right now, this is what they're doing. So we are agreeing to it.
Need a vote?
Yes.
All in
Any other
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Charlie?
Thank you. I agree with Todd. Our cell phone service here is not just bad, it is non-existent. And having spent 40 years of my career working in communications, disaster recovery, this is an unacceptable situation. If our power were to go out, we lose our landlines, we have no communications, the town hall campus, library, and that's called a disaster. So this week or early next week, I will contact Dee Dee Barrett, Senator Hinchey, Congressman Ryan initially and say, we need help, get our cell phone service improved. We're willing to do the heavy lifting, but point us in the right direction. I know Senator Hinchey has a bill that's remapping New York State. I'm not sure where that stands right now. I'll talk to their office. I'm sure that's part of the process. But we will do anything and everything we can to improve service, cell phone service. Again, it's not a matter of your children can't get on TikTok or you call their friends. This is the inability to communicate officially. So when I leave my house on Hollow Road, I don't have a cell phone signal until I get close to the Russert. That's 4 or 5 miles. And along Hollow Road to 9G, there's no service, and up 9G towards Rhinebeck, it's hard to make a call. It's just unacceptable. So we're putting on the agenda, and we will work hard on it to get it fixed.
Charlie, you're aware that we have had a number of cases in the past where companies have come to the planning board with applications, but have decided not to pursue them. In fact, one of them was even approved. I forget which one. I think it may have been Nextel or something years ago, but they decided to locate in Milan, I guess because there's a more dense population or what
Yeah.
have you. The other two, they applied, we had a couple of meetings, hired consultants, and then
Goes away.
it goes away.
All right,
Yeah.
well, that's good to know. I'll check with the planning board. We'll get some names and phone numbers, and
And I agree with Charlie and Todd, like, it may be time to not involve private entities.
Well, we
We
could have
may
our
need
own.
more help to do this, because it's a safety issue
I mean,
at
there are
this
towns
point.
that construct their own cell towers,
Yeah.
as I understand.
And
Right.
that's an option here on campus.
Right.
yeah, I know we have the ability to use the highway tower perhaps and gain some revenue for the town, but it's putting the cart before the horse. Let's see where we are, gather the figures, get some political help, and take it from there.
All right, thank you. Elliot?
Okay, on a more basic level, talk about a dog housing agreement.
What a drop-off, huh?
The town board resolves or rather approves the 2025 dog housing agreement between the town of Clinton and Hudson Valley Animal Rescue and Sanctuary, and authorizes, empowers, and directs the town supervisor to sign the agreement.
Second.
This is just a housing agreement for when a dog is caught. I hate to use that word. Apprehended by our animal control officer. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's a simple agreement.
Do we have a second and discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And continuing in that vein, move that the town board approves the following resolution: the 2025 Animal Control Shared Services Agreement, and authorizes, empowers, and directs the town supervisor to sign the agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
So,
This is for the actual
yeah,
apprehension,
this
right?
is the actual animal control officer. So we have a shared service agreement with other towns. The unfortunate part is, the ACO that we're using only works Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 8 to 6. Shockingly, dogs are a problem on the weekends too.
Well, they can't tell time, so,
So we were trying to find someone that can cover all days and all times, but so we need to enter into the agreement with the other towns for this year. Mind you, Clinton isn't the only town that has this issue. And then we may do an agreement with someone else to cover the other times on an needed basis. And next year, either this will be fixed or we just go with that person full-time. That's the thought right now. That's mine.
Catherine, you have a,
I did, yeah,
looks like you
so
have a question.
we had talked about the animal control officer housing animals at their home, and we were going to, there
Yeah.
was an agreement. Is that still in the works, or is it
Well,
tabled for now?
Yeah, it's tabled for now because the housing at the home would cost us more than the housing
At
agreement,
HVAC.
so.
Okay.
Okay, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Resignations and appointments.
Oh,
Or do you have one thing?
no,
You're okay. Approve the, town board approves the appointment of Connor Burns as part-time seasonal winter employee wingman at $16.80 per hour as needed, effective January 1st of 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Approve the appointment of Brian Dingy as a winter employee highway at $16.80 per hour for 32 hours per week from January 1st to March 31st, 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion.
I would just say we appointed him in another role earlier, last month, and now we are moving him to 32 hours a week. It's a guaranteed role.
It's what, I'm sorry?
A guaranteed role.
Oh, guaranteed role. Okay, got it.
So it's not just if they need him for.
As
Yeah,
needed.
as
Oh,
needed.
okay.
This is
32
a
hours.
role we have in the budget.
Okay, discussion. Other discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move that the town board approves the appointment of Steve Giannoni as HMEO effective December 16th, 2024, at a rate of pay as per CSEA contract for year 2024 of $25.73 per hour, with $1 less per hour for 6 months or 1,000 hours, and in year 2025, at a rate of pay of $26.57 per hour, with $1 less per hour for the remaining 6 months, or 1,000 hours plus full medical, eye, and dental coverage, with an employee contribution of 15% and paid leave benefits as per the CSEA contract. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? Nope.
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And lastly, Town Board approves the appointment of Grace Folmsby as an unpaid intern to the MCEI. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I would like to just reiterate that Jeff Newman will be the only person that is responsible for supervising and giving work to Grace, that the ladies in the office are not.
And they'll be, and working together. I think
Yeah.
you talked about having them in the office together.
Yes, Grace would not be there alone
Right.
when Jeff is doing other things.
Is there a time frame attached to this, or is it open-ended? I don't recall we discussed that.
We didn't discuss a time frame.
Okay. All right.
Good question.
What do you mean open-ended, like her term of office or her hours?
No,
No, just how long she's an intern.
term of office,
Yeah.
Her term of office?
yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, say, 6 months or a year. There's no limit here, it's just,
I just wanted to
yeah,
clarify.
that's what I mean by open-ended. Do we want to have one?
Would you like to make it an unpaid intern for a term of 6 months with the ability to,
Option.
the option to renew, that
To
if that's, they
extend.
can,
Yeah, one
or
way
you want to just leave it
I'm
as.
okay with, I'm all right with that.
Yeah,
For 6 months?
yeah.
Yeah, 6 months renewable.
Fine.
Right, we can just
That okay, Jeff?
reappoint her in 6 months
Just so we have a
if she wants to
official
stay.
time frame.
So, June 14, 2025 is
should
6
be-
months,
right.
right? Yeah. Or July 14.
July. It would be
July
July.
14.
It'd be 6 months from today.
Yeah.
Okay. We had a second. Discussion, we've had discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Catherine.
Be it resolved that the town board approves the January general fund warrant, vouchers numbered 1 through 30, totaling $33,848.34, and the January highway fund warrant, vouchers numbered 1 through 27, totaling $70,538.73. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There is no motion to move funds this month, and the December supervisor report will be approved when the financial report is complete. Anything else? All right, anyone want to speak on things not on the agenda? Oh, I love you all. I make a motion that the town board adjourns the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion?